Okay. Next, our favorite or favored moderator, Napoleon Biggs, founder of Web Wednesday Ventures, who's going to be taking the stage with, they're here, right? Figo? Is Figo here? Yeah? Oh, okay, Figo Zhang, partner of Northern Light Venture Capital, is here from Beijing, along with Htite, the founder, executive chairman of Dianrong. And so why don't you come up and take the stage?
Good afternoon. Do we have 3, 2?
Yeah. Here.
So before we get into this, we've got 15 minutes. How many of you in this room have borrowed money? Come on, be honest. How many of you, put your hands up, keep them up. How many of those have paid it back? Some didn't. Anson obviously hasn't. So we're here to talk about, in the VC world it's called FinTech. Basically we're talking about borrowing money and lending and make it work better, right? So I've got 2 gentlemen here, Sol and is it Figo or Figo? Figo. Yeah. Sounds kind of sexy in Italian. So we've got 50 minutes, so I'm going to cut you off and we're going to get straight to the point. Let's do the elevator pitch. 10 seconds. 10 seconds. I'm sure you can do it. You've done it before many times.
10 seconds.
What is your business? What do you do?
So we are a solution that gives the same level services that banks give for large customers, but we give them to small and micro businesses.
12 seconds. Not bad. Very good.
And
yourself?
Yeah, we are China-based early stage venture capital. We focus on China, we focus on early stage, we focus on technology. We have 5 US funds and 3 RMB funds. Totally, we have 1.2 billion US dollars. Yeah.
He had a few more seconds, but he had to show off the numbers. So tell me peer-to-peer, this is a big thing. You've done it before in the States with the Lending Club. How does it work? What is the basic principle of peer-to-peer lending?
Do you understand how the stock market works?
I try to, but I don't always succeed.
Exactly the same thing. Yeah. It's exactly the same thing. So you have the New York Stock Exchange. You have certain kind of banks. We call them IBD banks. They take companies and they list them. And people like you and me come and invest in them. So we do exactly the same thing. So that's IBD part. We do it ourselves. We call it risk management. It's exactly the same thing that banks do. We find good quality assets, we price them. We say people like you will default at 4% chance, so we're going to charge you 4% than somebody who doesn't default as much as you do. And we price you, we put you on our platform, we create all the legal structure. So one person that has $1,000 or $100 million can pick and choose who they want to invest in, just like the stock market.
So can if I'm a lender, you have how many now? 3.8 million lenders, is it?
4.5 million.
4.5 million lenders. Does anybody here lend money on your platform?
I
No?
think if you are in Hong Kong, you won't
You
be able
can't.
to.
You're not allowed to.
Have to be a
How about in
Chinese
China?
citizen.
You have to be a Chinese citizen.
Oh, actually, you can do the Hong Kong business, which is a new
The
thing.
Hong Kong business.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
the lender of Dianrong.
You're a lender.
And an investor too.
Yeah.
Have you made more money from lending or from investing?
Yeah, of course, from lending.
Lending.
Also from investing.
So, all right. So you're doing what banks do, but you're doing it better. Is that the main thing?
No. What banks do, they do it for a certain segment of the markets.
Okay.
If we are lending $5 million, FinTech would be useless. If we are lending $50,000, $100,000, you won't be able to do it if you are a bank using the same infrastructure.
Because it costs too much.
Exactly.
Okay.
So SME is just like any type of borrowers. There is the good and there is the bad. The problem with SMEs is the cost. So banks cannot make any money from lending to SMEs. They spend most of it.
Is that why bankers are so difficult to get money from if you're an SME? They just can't be bothered?
Yes, they don't have products for you.
Yeah.
And they don't need to.
So I saw a figure that in China, that the SMEs, there's only 5% are actually able to borrow money, right?
Correct. And there is 73 million of them.
Okay.
So only 5% of them. And the ones that get capital is because they have a collateral that they can pledge to the bank.
So I have some numbers here. I just want to share some numbers because I think there's some mathematical people in the audience. Let's see, where was it? Here. So you've lent, I can't read that to my glasses on. Maybe you can just tell us.
I'll help.
How much have you lent? You've been going since 2012, right?
So more than 50 billion RMB.
Okay, over the period of, since 2012?
5 years.
Okay.
Majority of it came in the last 2 years, so
Okay.
I can show you the growth. We looked at more than 8 million different borrowers, and we approved 3.2. So we have 1/3 approval rate.
And what happens to the rest? You just say bye-bye?
Sorry, you don't qualify. Maybe you're in a blacklist.
So you're on WeChat. Yeah. The Dianrong Mafia account, apparently.
Yeah. On the lender side, we always have a lot more capital than assets. It's easy actually to find capital in China because there is a lot less investment opportunities. So we have people coming in, 100% they come through our mobile app and they do their investments within 30 seconds.
So it's all via the mobile app?
All via mobile, on the lender side.
So how did you, at what stage did you get involved? Did you meet in a coffee shop in Seattle and you say, come over to China, or did you, what was your link to Seoul?
It's one of our friend for introduction we know.
So it's good old
Seoul,
Guanxi. Guanxi.
Yeah, the friend introduction, yeah. So as I already, we met with Seoul in 2013. And Dianrong is just founding up. And just through the friend, we know this guy, very handsome guy. And then at that time, the FinTech in China is very early stage. Now the P2P is a new.
So there was no regulations. Anybody could do it. Right?
Yeah, anybody can do it. But P2P is a new word to people.
Okay.
People didn't know what that means.
What is the Chinese for P2P?
Peer to peer.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah, the same. Yeah.
没有中文的吗？
没有中文.
没有
No
中文。
Chinese. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. So we just look at how the technology can change the finance industry. So the P2P model, when I look at this model, I think it's a very good model. So it's a greenfield for the China's bank only serve the big enterprises, big customers. Now the only SMB customers are no people to serve. Now P2P is a good model. You can earn money, you can collect money from the internet users, and then you can borrow them to the SMBs. So it's a good bridge.
And were you not scared that this was a French Canadian who was coming? French Canadian?
American, but I was born French.
Okay, American, coming to get involved in finance in China. Is that not like double whammy? Double Trump?
Yeah.
No, let's not go there. But anyway, as an American coming and getting into finance, was that not nervous as an investor?
Yeah, I have asked the same question. I want to invest in Seoul. And, but finally it's proved that this guy is a very good guy, and he built up a very good team. And so all the team is Chinese local guy.
Yeah.
And he is a chairman. He built an excellent team. So the Chinese team, do the local business.
Yeah.
That's right.
So he's a good leader. He's a good leader. You're invested in a leader.
So just to be clear, I do the work with them too. It's
Okay.
not that I'm sitting there.
You're not the chairman, although your title's chairman. You've got a pretty juicy title. So tell us let's talk a bit about the technology of peer-to-peer. I mean, there's a lot of, in the fintech world, there's lots of jargon and all this. What the hell is ledger, hyperledger, and why does that work? Does it work in your industry? Why do you care? You're already in technology,
You're
right?
putting a lot of technical words together, and
Yeah.
it gets a little bit overwhelming or confusing.
That was the point.
So exactly. So let's forget about blockchain and stuff. We'll talk about it later. Let's focus on the marketplace model. So whether we're doing finance, whether we are Uber, whether we are the stock market, the ability to take a group of people here that have a resource and a group of people over here that need that resource and connect them requires us to build that technology. And connecting people, connecting individuals means that we are doing things at a very, very small scale. But still, it has to be done within the law. So there should be the right regulations around it, the right contract. So when I said earlier, it's the same as the New York Stock Exchange, I really mean it. So everything should be recorded, we have systems of record and all of that. And that technology by itself is quite complex, but it's very useful because it makes transaction happen a lot faster than having to take these investors, showing them these mutual funds, which is tranching, go through securitization, and 6 months later, we still don't have the borrowers. In our model, every time a borrower appears, if he's approved, he gets funded immediately from 5 million different lenders are waiting for him. And he gets the best cost because if you are just looking at the people around you, they will always charge you much higher than if you're looking at everybody in your universe. So that technology by itself is what I call the logistics of finance. Every industry in the world needs its logistics.
So yours is the most efficient logistics of finance.
We try to be the most efficient, yes.
And when you invested, did you put pressure on him and say, I want an IPO in 5 years, otherwise you're not getting my money?
No, he never
Never
gave us
given
a guarantee.
Never give you a guarantee. Excellent. So tell us a bit about how do you make money? What's the business model from his perspective first? How does he make money?
He will charge a service fee. He will make a deal happen, so we can charge the service fee.
Service fee. So you're not doing a kind of arbitrage model that a lot of lenders
Absolutely
do,
not.
right?
Same like the New York Stock Exchange. We have IBD service when we put somebody on our platform and they get funded, they pay us a fee, and there is a performance fee when people make money.
Okay, so you take money from both sides.
Yeah, but the majority comes from the origination.
So you're incentivized to make that perform better,
Absolutely.
the performance fee.
But also, my fees are not related to how much interest they pay.
Yeah.
So because if you charge high, you're going to end up with more defaults. So it always evens out, but you don't want to have higher defaults because our cost of doing post-loan management goes higher. So it is in our best interest that the numbers are very well priced.
So now you have done this in the States and in China. What we're talking about, cross-bay stuff. What was the difference? Starting a business in the US and starting a business in China, what would be?
So I spent exactly 5.5 years building Lending Club and now 5.5 years building Dianrong. Will you be surprised if I tell you not much difference?
Yes, I would be.
Yeah, it is really.
Aren't you supposed to be better the second time?
Seriously, so the same problems we had when we were starting Lending Club, I had when we were starting Dianrong. Where do you get your team? Where do you get your capital? You have to deal with the SEC in the US. You have to deal with the CBRC in China. It's exactly the same thing. It's a different language, different time zone, but it's really exactly the same thing. Yeah. There is nothing, I see a lot of people trying to create this comparison between the US and China, the US and I understand emerging market versus mature market, but this comparison between the US and China really does not make a lot of sense to me. I lived both of them, and I can tell you the same rules that apply. I mean, you have a strategy, you have funding, you have this and this and this. You will get there.
So I read that you've done things outside of China, right? You have a partnership in Hong Kong.
That's right.
That's just won an award, right, with Bloomberg. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So we took our technology and we give it to an entrepreneur. Her name is Maggie Inga. She was an exec at Citibank. She decided to create a FinTech platform here. And it's the first global FinTech platform in the world. So
out of Hong Kong.
She connects, absolutely. She connects.
Invest Hong Kong will be happy to hear that. Cyberport Invest Hong Kong will be very happy to hear that.
So we connect assets from the US, from Lending Club, Prosper, Upgrade, and others, with capital from Asia, from Hong Kong, Singapore, Japan, Taiwan. So why is it important? Well, multiple reasons. Capital does not flow unless there is regulations that the lenders will understand. So people are a lot more comfortable with the regulations in Hong Kong. So this business is regulated under the SFC here in Hong Kong, and they trust it, and they are familiar with making investments in Hong Kong. So we bring those assets over here. There is a structure. It's a little bit complicated. It's tax-free because it's happening outside of the US, and we have lenders.
So you debt from the States to Hong Kong?
Yes, but the original core value, which is direct investment from one person here to 100 borrowers, 10 in California, 10 in Washington, D.C., and so on, is still there. So we just created the first global FinTech platform that is the same as if Lending Club lending money from US lenders to US borrowers, or in China.
So in effect, you're bridging both?
Correct.
Okay, that's where Lending Club comes in, that's great. So you're there as an investor. What's next? You say, right, China too small. I want the world. What do you say? Come on, China. You know, everybody in China has been told expand overseas.
China, it's a very big, very big market.
Yeah, I agree.
It's also now currently a lot of companies that do the fintech play in the fintech, but still the market will grow a lot, even have a big potential. Yeah.
But you're famous for companies like Meituan and companies like that, right?
Yeah, right.
So is it not very different to invest in a fintech? Is it the kind of psychology not very different from a kind of consumer?
Sometimes it's different and some is the same. It's both for the maybe the consumer internet business. Some is we are lenders of online consumers, and Meituan is a lot of is a pure 2C platform. And both these two companies is a platform to make the deal happen. Now Meituan is a link to all the consumers and a link to his business. Some maybe the restaurant or maybe kind of other business, and the Dianrong is a link to the consumers, borrowers, and lenders.
So I want to know what kind of thing are people borrowing money for? Is it, you know, iPhones? Is it I've got to start a business?
Right.
Is it I've got to pay off the person who's about to...
Right. So we specialize in micro and small businesses. If you are a restaurant, a massage place, a truck driver working for a logistics company, whatever business scenario that we have, business scenario that you have, we can support. We do not lend money to consumers.
Okay, but give me an example of something fun, strange that somebody's...
Say for example, your restaurant, the machine in the kitchen broke down.
Okay.
You need money to...
You need money to do that.
Yeah.
So last question for you. You're a VC, right? Which means you can see into the future.
So what future?
Yeah, exactly. So let's say, you know, FinTech, you know, China is kind of ahead of the game. It's ahead of America. It's ahead of my poor country. But where do you see it, you know, 3 years from now? What's going to be happening in the finance, FinTech, peer-to-peer lending world?
I think
is Alibaba going to own it all?
No, it's
No?
you know from the history of finance in China, there are multiple banks. They all have growth very well. For the billion-dollar companies in China, all these banks' market cap is $1 billion or multi-billion dollars. So this market is not winner-take-all business. So even the Alibaba, Tengxun, they're very strong. But almost we have, I think there maybe almost 10, almost good company, very good companies, unicorn.
So your prediction is?
Sorry?
What is your prediction? You didn't tell me about the future.
I mean, it's besides the Alibaba and Tencent in China.
There will be more.
There will be more of.
There'll be newer ones. The next generation is coming.
Unicorn in FinTech. Yeah.
Excellent. You've got 1 minute to answer. They've been shaking a sign of it.
A couple of things. Take all FinTech. It's still less than 0.5% of the finance of China. Okay, so always good to keep these numbers in mind. Now, 24% of that banking or unbanking world in China is in the hands of small loan and guarantee companies, which charge very high interest rates. And we refer to that as shadow banking. So before we go...
So you're here to disrupt shadow banking.
Exactly. And the solution has been promoted by the regulators, by the society, by everyone, including the small loan companies, because they know it's not sustainable to continue lending at 40% if your cost is 20%. It just does not make sense. So for us, like I mentioned before, we focus on the logistics of finance. Yeah. We use whatever technology we can and expertise in risk management, but we build it in such a way that can be exported and sometime in the future somewhere else.
I like that hint. You're going global. We've run out of time. A warm round of applause for these two gentlemen. We could talk for another hour, but we don't have the time. Thank you. See you.
Thank you.